That's not ever going to fix the relationship. Those types of things will never fix your communication. People think like, oh, well, okay, I get it. I need to show up more. I need to be more. They're communicating. I need to like pay attention to their feelings and validate their stuff and all this. That's not going to work. It's not going to work.
No. And instead, like, honestly, all these things just create more distance. So at one point, it was like whoever got the louder, just a decimal louder, like just gotta keep going louder. That's what's going to create that intimacy. And in fact, it actually created more disconnection, and it created more walls, more resentment, more broken trust, more division, and it kept like one foot out the door, and it opened up a lot of doors to other problems. And we also made the mistake of treating our like just disagreements in our household in general like a competition. That is a mistake a lot of people fall into. If you're like, if I win, they lose, and if they win, I lose. If you're in that mindset, whether it involves yelling or whose idea was better or anything along those lines, if your house is ran that in the marriage, if one of you is quote unquote right and the other one is wrong, if one wins, one loses, you done both lost. Because a marriage isn't about one person winning and one person losing. If so, the marriage done lost, the relationship lost. It's not about that. Like that, it makes your house a competition and a battleground instead of united and a team.
Hey, welcome back to the Marriage 2.0 podcast. So today we're going to be talking about yelling and why yelling is one of the most misunderstood concepts out there as to how to fix it. And then also, I will tell you, it's not about being just slow to speak, quick to listen at all. That is not going to fix it.
Not at all. And we're going to talk about the real reasons why people yell. And then I'm just going to go ahead and let you know, it is not anger. Anger is not the reason why people yell. It is so much deeper than that. And honestly, like yelling is something that most people have normalized. If this has been going on in your house, it's just like, oh, that's normal. That's just how people disagree. That's how arguments happen. When you're in a relationship, that's how you solve problems, and that's how like you just express that you disapprove of what the other one thinks or your opinion is different. And so we're going to be answering a lot of these questions that talk about yelling, and is yelling even normal? Like these are all very common questions.
Yeah, and also what it's not going to be like to fix this, just to be clear, like you're not going to fix it through slow to speak, quick to listen. You're not going to be fixing it through grit and trying not to be angry. Good luck with that, the volcano. We're also not going to tell you how to fix it on the essence of like, hey, just like be like, I hear you say this and I hear you say that. Even if you had an exact framework on how to actually speak, it still wouldn't fix it if you started there.
Right. And so we're going to be answering those questions, and also about, can you have a disagreement without yelling? Is that even possible? And, why do people yell? What does yelling actually do to a marriage and into a relationship? What does it do to your kids? And if yelling isn't the answer, then how do a healthy couple handle conflict? Is there a way other than yelling? And we're going to tell you our story because yelling was a huge part of our life. It was a part of my life from as long as I could remember up until doing the deep work of Tommy and I actually restoring our marriage.
Yeah, you may be like, well, that's great. I'm glad for you guys, but it's not this. It's not that. It's not all the, what is it then, right? Don't worry. It's okay. We're going to tell you our story. We're going to explain like all of this to you. So. Yeah.
And if you followed us for very long, you know that our marriage did not start where it is today. We did not start on this perfect path and, perfect, healthy little foundations and in a place where we could disagree and we could be on the same page and we could be a team and be united. That is not our story. Our story started where it wasn't peaceful. It wasn't safe. Neither of us felt heard or understood, and yelling was 100% culture. Let's just be real. My mind, the louder I got, the righter I was. The louder I got, the more I overpowered him, and I would win the argument.
Win.
Air quotes on win.
Yeah, it's just like the louder you are, the righter you are. And obviously that's not true. You may feel it's true at the moment, but it's not. Deep down, if you're being honest, you know it's not true. Let's be honest. But conversations, they realistically man, they turned into, because we're competitive, naturally still are, but they turned into competitions. And so like, who could make someone hurt the worst, or who could get their point across and win and prove that you're wrong and you're the issue. And this is what really happened. And like, we did it different ways. Like for me, I would go into like fact finding and just track, like I literally would track things and record things, and it was just ridiculous. And then it still didn't win anything, because it was just, that's not the way to do it, right?
Yelling was a massive competition, and I would want to make sure I won. Let's just be real. I am very competitive, and I wanted to win. And it didn't matter like what it was. All right. So yelling wasn't enough. And then the yelling would also therefore lead into slamming things. Oh, let's slam the door. Let's stomp around. Let's, drop stuff on the counter, where you're slamming stuff. And thank God that we didn't have glass, because it wouldn't have lasted. I think at one point we did, but a lot of it got broken. Imagine that.
Yeah. Honestly, we were just too broke back then, to be honest, to have most of it. But like, regardless, like either way, stuff still got thrown, stuff still got said, there was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of disagreements. And I wouldn't even say, no, there wasn't a lot of disagreements. Disagreements would be civil. There was no disagreements. It was just yelling and belittling and just constant fighting.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, like the words would cut so deep, and deeper than we realized. I know on my part, the words, it's just weaponized, right? They were a weapon. My words were used to get Tommy to hear me, understand me. I just wanted to be seen. And so I would fight for these things to be heard. And, for him, like that was one of the most painful things, was the words that I had said.
Yes. There was a lot of different... I mean, you could go into like all these different statements on what was really painful, right? And when people say, because you got to remember, like, well, maybe you don't know yet, but if you did watch the first episode, we went through a lot of different affairs, physical and emotional, and then a lot of mental and physical abuse, all those things too, and everything else. And I would say that the most painful thing that I personally ever experienced wasn't, even though it triggered, and by the way, like when it came to like the actual affairs and stuff like that, I had triggers like crazy. I had intrusive thoughts like crazy. It felt like someone ripped my heart out of my chest and threw it on the ground and stomped on it, literally. So it wasn't like it wasn't painful for me, and it was definitely painful for her too. When I say that, I'm not minimizing that, but what I am saying is like the words that were said were by far way more painful than any of that. They stuck the longest.
And most people don't realize that, or they're like, yeah, I know words hurt. And then they try and do the whole society, well, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Okay, they do. Words cut deep, okay? They cut.
Curses, like there's a whole other topic, but words are powerful. Yes. Literally, that statement is the opposite of what the Bible says.
Words have the power to create and to destroy. Or to cause death. And that's the power of words. And honestly, we would get to the point where after like all of these yelling, screaming, slamming stuff, let's just be real. There was a lot of slamming stuff, but we would stop talking altogether. Because after this whole episode, I'm going to call it a tantrum, because that's what it was on my end. And if I just offended you, just know that, well, it just means you need to reach out and have some shift in your culture, in your home, right? And it's not a degrading thing. We went through this, and I wanted to be seen as, right? Like I have to fight to be seen. So no, and we would stop talking altogether, and I would literally get to the point where I wanted to avoid Tommy, because honestly, like my insides were boiling. Like I would get to the point where I wasn't just no longer like a volcano or a firework about to explode. I literally thought like my insides were gonna bust on the outside, because I'd be so irate that literally I know my blood pressure was higher. My temperature would rise, and I literally felt like I was gonna explode. Like a cartoon that gets really, really mad. I think on Angry Birds, there's a bird that gets really mad and then boom, and it explodes, and like it actually explodes. It's what I felt like on the insides, all right? And I would be so dadgone mad that like knockout, drag out, I would want to beat him and just shake him, because I'd be like, are you stupid? Are you speaking a foreign language? Do you not understand me? Now I'm just being real. Like those were some of my thoughts in this process. I was just like, why do you not understand the words coming out of my mouth? And we would just get louder and louder. And so obviously yelling would just bring more tension and more awkwardness.
Yeah. And then I would try to teach her how it felt to talk to me the way that she talked to me, which didn't resonate. It was just in ear, one ear right out the other. Didn't even, just went over straight over her head. Didn't even come close. And that's not just her. That's anybody that you're going to talk to, because no one's going to really feel realistically the same way you feel at all. Like they're going to take it different ways, because like people have different deep rooted beliefs. They have different traumas. They have different things on the inside. So like regardless, like even though, like, for example, even though we went through a lot of different affairs and stuff like that, she felt things differently when I cheated versus the opposite, right? So like it's the same thing here with yelling and stuff. I would try to do those things to be like, well, I'm going to show you how it feels. But that's kind of a dumb statement, really, like idea. I mean, I'm not calling you dumb. It was dumb for me, but I think it's dumb idea. And when it comes down to it, like it never got the point across. It never got her to a point where like she was like, like, you know what did that? That one day, it was just like God lifting the veil over her eyes, which made me insanely mad. But
That's a different story.
And then there was a lot of deep work that like was preliminary to that specific event. But the thing is, so it wasn't like God just like spap, but it was a part. It was like the deep work and then the submission and everything that built up to that point. But the thing is like we ended up in a place where like I would yell, I would degrade her. It was the same vice versa on her side. I would then eventually, I just got irritated and I would withdraw, which is really damaging as well.
Yes, yelling, withdrawing, they're both damaging. One's not better than the other. Both are toxic, both are damaging. So all of this yelling would lead to more distance, more silence, walking on eggshells. And honestly, we would get to the point where we'd pretend everything was okay, really for image, making sure that everyone around us thought things were okay, pretending things for around the kids. We didn't want, even though the kids can hear, let's be real, like the kids know what's going on and the kids can hear. And we would just pretend though until the next disagreement. And I remember thinking like, I hate this. Like I legit hate this. And I did get to a point where I was like, I'm just really over this. And I hate being yelled at. I do not like being yelled at. And it is something that like I grew up in a home where there was yelling. I hated it. Sitting on the bed, like crying, just wishing it would stop, putting pillows over my head, just drowning it out with music, different things. Like I hated the life. I knew what it was like to be in it. And now here I was in my marriage and I was like, it's still going on. And it felt like I couldn't escape yelling. Even in my workplace, there ended up being yelling. I was locked in an office one day where, all of the managers like yelled at me. And it was like over, so honestly, like I didn't do anything wrong in that. They just were displeased that I wanted time off for an event. It was retarded. And but I was like, why is my life so full of yelling? And you could tell like I was most certainly in a place of like life just happens to me. I am stuck, and it was awful. And I did not like feeling the emotions. That if you haven't been the one to yell and get that angry where you feel like your insides are about to explode, where if you don't slam something, release something, hit something in some violent way that you literally feel like you might pop. And it sounds dumb. I get it. It sounds dumb if you haven't experienced it, but if you have, you know what I mean. It's like and you just need that release, and that's where I was. And I wasn't the only one, so I did a lot of slamming. I was really big on slamming, and obviously, like I would get to
Peeling
a point.
out.
I really like the aggression in the car. Tommy, you legit did that too, and you would take things out and like by damaging things.
Yeah. So I never we'll talk about a different episode about like physical violence towards each other. Like I never hit her. She was the one that did that to me. But like what the thing is like even though I never did that, like I would do other things that obviously were very damaging to our relationship and to the property that we lived multiple properties we lived at throughout the years. But I would throw stuff through walls. I remember one time I threw a chair almost through a wall, if not almost all the way through it. And then like it just into another room, which is kind of skillful, but regardless, either way, like managed to do that, and then would punch holes in walls, doors, so many different things, right? And it wasn't okay. And I would throw things too, or hit things with like grab like something and hit other things with it. That's what I did, or throw stuff around, whatever. I would hit other things. Or I remember also getting to a point where it was kind of like I guess you'd call it like abuse. I guess you would call it, but I would hit like a brick wall or hit something really hard that I know I couldn't damage, but it would damage my hand or myself, and I end up with like bloody knuckles and stuff like that. So that's more of where I would go with it when yelling didn't work.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually really common. And so it's really common. It's not okay. And there is a different way, a healthy way, but it is really common for people to get into a place where, they want to see their knuckles bleed. They, when their hand is even fractured or swollen from like beating something up, like it is that release. So mine was like the release of just yelling and just different things. But that is actually common. And we've helped a lot of men walk through and be able to release that where they're no longer seeking to like, oh, I want to see my knuckles bleed and to be heard or to be seen. And like, there's just so much that goes into those things. And honestly, like the crazy thing about this was in our life, like we had a giant hole in the middle of our living room wall and people would come by and just be like, what's that? And we had some lame story and, and they would just be like, okay. And they would just like move on. And at this point, I'm just like, really? All these people in our life, like even like we were full blown argument one day, no like disagreement of having a healthy conversation. I mean, we were full blown wrestling and I was wrestling to destroy Tommy. I'm going to be legit. I was not happy and I was wrestling to win, to destroy, and there was yelling and screaming. And I remember a neighbor walked by and they just put their head down and like kind of.
Oh, I was like trying to think about what you were talking about.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And they just scurried by.
So for context, like we would hack in each other's Facebooks and phones and different things like that, right? And she got into mine and saw that I was messaging an affair and then flipped out and obviously like peeled out around the corner and then came back and like
it was a full-on attack. Okay,
literally like kicked like dents into my car and then like back then and then punched me in the face a couple times, but like I mean it was not okay, but I mean it was funny in the essence of looking back at it now because like the neighbor, like he was just like and then walked by. Like,
and it's like, but the fact that like no one called things out on us, and it was just so normalized of like, oh, they got crap going on, like, and this is how far gone our society is, and it's not okay. So we will be the truth tellers who tell you like, hey, no, that's not okay, that's unacceptable. There is so many things wrong with that, and that is not how God designed your marriage, and it's not how he designed you. And while we look back and we laugh at ourselves, it is because we're in this 100% different place, and we're in a place of healing where we can look back on those sorts of things. But it just goes to show like really like how far gone our society is. And so we're not going to be talking about today like what's normal of culture. Culture's lost, confused, hurting, broken. I don't care what's normal for them. I'm talking about what's normal as in what God designed and what's healthy. That's what we want. Because like we want you to be in a place where you can have that freedom. And honestly, like at that time, like I didn't know there was any other way. I was right there with the rest of culture thinking it was just normal. That a disagreement, and especially in marriage, a disagreement meant you got a sharp tone, you gave them the looks, right? Like women, you know what I'm talking about, the look. And then you also got louder, and then to a voice of yelling and to full-blown screaming and using whatever necessary to make the loudest noise to win the fight, to win the argument, and prove your point. Because let's be real, I had to win. And I had to be heard. I had to fight to be seen in those situations, and that's how society has normalized this.
Yeah, I know that like she would lose her mind and lose like it. It was, I don't know. It was so weird because it wasn't like neither one of, like you don't argue typically. Like no one really argues over anything unless they want to be heard. I don't care if it's on social media. I don't care if it's on some type of thing, but that's not going to do it.
No.
And when it boils down to it, like we can never communicate in a way. Like, I mean, we could literally argue over anything. We could breathe wrong and then that would start an argument. And it did at different points. But like the thing is like we would end up like to where she would lose her mind literally, because I'm not hearing her and she's not being heard and she feels crazy.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I really felt like the only time Tommy would take me serious and would listen is when I lost my ever loving mind. I was like, I have to lose my ever loving mind to get his attention. And for him, like, Tommy, you can talk more about this, but it was like, since I was already alpha, like I was making decisions, I was leading, yelling gave you more control and power and authority.
Yeah. So the best way to look at this from my perspective is like, you have like back then, like, and go listen. If you really won't understand this fully, what I'm about to say, unless you listen to the previous episode, I think it was the previous, no, it wasn't the previous. It was the one before that. It was one on how to lead your wife without being a dictator, I believe is what it's called. But it's a leadership podcast we did. Go listen to that and you'll hear how I actually showed up in the marriage in terms of leadership, which was not leadership at all. Now, leading up to this point, like in my life, I had like, and even past that, I had a lot of like insecurities. I had a lot of like self-worth issues, a lot of not good enough going on. I was always picked last, chosen last, all those different things. Then you go into marriage and it's like, oh, well, I could never hold a job. I could never like be the provider that I wanted to be for her. I could never like be successful in business like I wanted to be for her. I could never like, I was always failing. And then like you add like all of the like arguments and disagreements, and then like everybody else now sees me as the problem, the only problem in the relationship, and she's the one that's the angel or whatever, and then I was the one that was just like the evil one, basically the monster, as one of her friends called me one time. But like the thing is like with this, like I would end up in a space basically to where like I felt like I had to make her see my worth. I had to make her see my value, which is, I didn't think about it like that way then, but it was like, that's really what it was. Like I have to make you, have to force you to see who I am. I have to force you to see my value. I have to force you to know that I am valuable. And I would always say things like, I'm never good enough. I'll never hit the bar from you. It's always something else, all those different things. Right. And then that led to a lot of bitterness and resentment, obviously on my end too. And then, yeah.
And you can tell. So they're left at war. Like our house was a war. It was not a team. It was not united. It was not safe. Our home was not a place of rest. Our home was a place of, hey, walking on eggshells.
It was a battleground.
It was a battleground. It was war. And honestly, this was, what we had seen. Well, this is mainly what I had seen. And no one had modeled anything differently. Like, this is just what I saw. This was like, oh, this is marriage. This is what marriage is. This is what it is to disagree.
My childhood was really weird. So like one, I was never really home anyways, a lot of the times. And then, mostly my grandparents raised me, which my grandparents on one side were more of like, they just existed together. And then the other ones kind of existed together. And then he was more abusive towards her. So, and then when I was home, it was more of just to sleep and like, I just kind of existed there. So I was just not really there I was just kind of existed in life at that point. And I don't remember a lot of my childhood anyways, but the thing is like her childhood was drastically different, like cops in the front yard and all that type of stuff too. So
a lot of aggression, so you can tell. And a lot of you may be in this place today where yelling is just how you feel like you have to disagree, or yelling is the only way to make you heard and for people to listen and take you serious. Maybe you feel like yelling is the only time your spouse listens. Maybe you think that yelling is the only time like your kids will actually do what you ask, right? And this is very, very common. But just because it's common in our society doesn't mean that it's where you're supposed to stay or how it has to be. And it doesn't make it okay. So just for clarity there. And so we want to share some of our biggest pitfalls and mistakes that we went through. And one of them was just that. It was just like thinking that, hey, this is normal. And, I just thought like, hey, this is what you do when you're in a relationship and you disagree. So that bubble bust there is like, no, like you can disagree in marriage without yelling, without belittling, without degrading.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like with this, a lot of times like people want to prove their point because usually, well, let's just face it, your spouse knows how to poke your exact buttons. It's not that they do it intentionally a lot of times. Sometimes, sure, I did that. But like when it comes down to it, and she did it to me too. But the thing is like realistically, those buttons wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for deep-rooted beliefs and things on the core, and there wouldn't be reaction if it wasn't for those type of things. So realistically, like when you look at this, like no, yelling does not have to be normal. No, getting into passive, I guess you would call it, like casual conversations, but still not getting anywhere is not normal. Not solving things is not normal. None of that is normal. What is normal is truly being heard on the deepest possible level ever, that you have not even a comprehension to understand yet, because most of our clients don't. So let's be real. And so like that's what's supposed to be normal, not what society does.
And you can have that. And so that is a huge thing to recognize. And that was a huge pitfall that we fell into. Another pitfall we fell into was we turned to friends and family for help.
Oh my gosh, that was so terrible.
Guess what types of cultures they had in their house? Imagine that, right? Obviously, if they're ignoring the holes in our wall and they're not saying anything, then, and also where do you think we learned these types of behaviors and what we saw? So that obviously did not help because they had the same culture, similar cultures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when it comes down to it, like, I mean, even if they did say anything, what real value would they have added anyways? Like, I mean, it would have been okay to like, been like, okay, well, like, you're doing something wrong, you're cheating, you're going out, like you're doing like on the side saying something. But the thing is like, at the end of the day, like while it may have been a little convicting, I don't know, like it wouldn't have been like, for me anyways, I can say for me, it wouldn't have helped really.
No.
So,
and the real reason is because like, we're going to get into that in a minute of like, what's the real reason? So you won't be able to grit through. And so that leads into the next pitfall because we leaned into tools and tactics to fix this. And so for me, let's be real. I was the one who was super quick to yell, raise my voice, be petty, be degrading, yell. Remember, that's how I was heard. That's how I was seen. That's how I won the argument. And so when I was sitting there, like a volcano, feeling like it's about to explode. I really want to say I really felt like I was about to implode, like my insides were just gonna explode. Someone saying, now remember, you're supposed to be slow to speak and quick to listen. First of all, I feel like my insides are about to explode, and now you're gonna say that, and it feels so condescending and patronizing to be like, be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I'm like, oh, I just want to punch you in the face. You're not helping me at the moment. And but it's scriptural. Yes, it is biblical to be slow to speak and quick to listen. But having that as a just like, oh, just do this, and as a tactic is not helpful. In fact, it's going to cause extra pressure on the inside and a rise, and that simmering volcano now just wants to explode, and not just with her words, but with words and hands. Just saying.
Yeah, slow to speak, quick to listen is supposed to be normal within the Bible. Sure, that's something we're supposed to do, but also so is renewing your mind. Also so is repentance. Where you know what repentance means in Greek? It means changing your way of thinking. It's not just asking forgiveness for a sin. It's actually changing the way you think, meaning renewing your mind, renewing your belief systems, renewing your mindsets, all those things. Which, do most people do those things? No, not even close. They don't even know how. And so at the end of the day, people cherry pluck things out of the Bible and be like, slow to speak, quick to listen. Let's just be a counselor and be like, here's your talking stick. If they would have gave her a talking stick back then, she would have literally hit me with it. I'm 100% sure of that.
I don't even have to let him guess. I'm 100% positive. I would have took that and whacked him. I would have just been like, whoops, I dropped it. And probably about that sarcastic.
Into my face.
Yeah, sorry. And probably about that kind of aggression out of it too, right? It's because let's be real, when you're having these things and emotions and you're feeling like you're about to explode and your body is having those there's chemical releases going on in your body. And that's a whole different thing. But these tools about just being slow to speak and quick to listen, or just don't yell. Okay, let me just grit through that. And I did for a very short period of time.
You know what?
It's on my
Like,
face.
what's funny is you know what? This is what most people, like professionals, counselors, therapists, I can't stand them, tell you what to actually do. They'll tell you like slow to speak, quick to listen. They'll be like, all right, well, you take turns and you take turns and you say this is how I feel and don't like speak for them, speak for yourself and you know like make which not bad things. But you're missing a lot of this. Like you're missing a whole thing, becoming a healthy individual part. And then like another thing is like they'll tell you to like they'll give you a talking stick or they'll tell you to write 10 nice things about your spouse every day or they'll tell you to, you know, or even just one or two things. They'll tell you to like fix your anxiety. They'll tell you to like do things like, oh, let's actually just like breathe slowly. Like, okay, yeah. Like there's just a lot of things out there that are tools and tactics that try to get you to a centered place where you can communicate that are just trash. Like let's be honest, like those things can work. To some of them are just trash, but some of them can work. Like slow to speak, quick to listen is good, but if you have the foundations with it beforehand, problem is you're trying to communicate as an unhealthy individual, and that ain't ever gonna work.
Yeah, because at the time, like my identity was still the same. And honestly, like all of the chemicals in my body were still the same. So each emotion that you're experiencing lets off a set of chemicals in your body. And so that's why people feel things differently, and it gives like a dopamine hit, right? So every time like I yelled, my body would get a hit of that dopamine of just everything like my body would release. And like it becomes like a chemical addiction in that so your body's fighting against you, your mind's fighting against you, and then you have someone patronizing you going, be slow to speak and quick to listen. When that counselor patted my hand and was like, well, honey, it's not helpful to someone who feels like that, okay? So all I'm saying is that another pitfall is we believed that being louder meant we would finally be understood and that we would be heard and it would finally allow us to be seen. In thinking that just because someone took action when we yelled, that it meant and affirmed that, hey, I got what I wanted and I was heard and seen. Because no, that's actually not what happened.
Yeah, we would go, so like the solving a lot of these like issues that we were trying to solve by yelling and all these other things that weren't working, obviously. And I would be like, I'm going to do better. And I would end up begging and pleading at different points and then sometimes not. But then I would end up doing like, okay, like here's what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do. Okay, then she'd be like, well, I'm already doing everything. Now I'm going to tell you what to do too. Like, you know, like all these, like, it's like adding more to her to-do list. But guys don't think about that type of stuff, but it's true. Like, especially if you're not leading. But the thing is like, you know, with that, you know, you're in a space to where like you're trying to do more and do things and like do what she wants you to do. And she's trying to do what you want her to do and all this stuff. But that's not ever going to fix the relationship. Those types of things will never fix your communication. People think like, oh, well, okay, I get it. I need to show up more. I need to be more. They're communicating. I need to like pay attention to their feelings and validate their stuff and all this. That's not going to work. It's not going to work.
No. And instead, like, honestly, all these things just create more distance. So we, you know, at one point it was like whoever got the louder, you know, just a decimal louder, like just gotta keep going louder. It, like that's what's going to create that intimacy. And in fact, it actually created more disconnection. And it created more walls, more resentment, more broken trust, more division. And it kept like one foot out the door and it opened up a lot of doors to other problems. And we also made the mistake of treating our like just disagreements in our household in general like a competition. That is a mistake a lot of people fall into. If you're like, if I win, they lose. And if they win, I lose. If you're in that mindset, whether it involves yelling or, you know, whose idea was better or anything along those lines, if your house is ran that in the marriage, if one of you is quote unquote right and the other one is wrong, if one wins, one loses, you've done both lost. Because a marriage isn't about one person winning and one person losing. If so, the marriage done lost, the relationship lost. It's not about that. Like that, it makes your house a competition and a battleground instead of united and a team.
Eventually, our communication, I would say, like at one point, like sure there were like highs of it, like a negative highs of like yelling and screaming and fighting in the front yard and all that stuff. But like, then there was like moments, like there was a time I remember like when we were fighting. And it just kind of shifted at one point to where we would just, instead of continuing, we would just shut down, like both of us, which was more normal for me, but way less normal for her. And we would just like, you know what? I don't care. That was like our statement. You know what? I don't care. Or like, that was like, that's where we both drifted. And it was eventually got into like a apathetic state of like, I don't care anymore. Whatever. We just stopped dealing with things and stopped arguing altogether. Well, it wasn't really dealing with it.
Very dangerous place to be is when you're not arguing at all. When you're not arguing at all, that is a very dangerous place to be.
Means that the other person is legit stopped caring.
And just like, there's a lot of hopelessness in that. And just because it's hopeless doesn't mean it's not able to recover. So for clarity, but here's some of the lessons that we learned. One, for me, I learned that yelling obviously didn't solve any problems. And you're like, yeah, duh. Okay, well, first of all, I had to have that realization that I actually wasn't solving the problem. In fact, it created more problems. The problem with this, though, is when you have beliefs that convince you that yelling made you heard, yelling makes you seen, yelling actually gets your point across and proved you right and proved your point or had someone take action. Because there's people listening right now that says, yep, exactly. I yell because the only time my spouse listens to me is once I finally lose my ever-loving mind. That's when they'll listen. Or my kids only take me serious when I yell at them. If I ask them nicely, they don't do it. And so I have to yell at them in order to get them to do something. These are deep beliefs that are into your subconscious. And those are what I was fighting against. So I had to realize that those were beliefs, but it really reveals something deeper within, in that grit and just stopping, like someone just saying, stop yelling, is not going to produce the fruit of a house that doesn't yell.
Yeah. I mean, even if like I was saying before though, like, cause you got some people out there who were like, well, that's great. We don't really yell. We don't really ever fight. Well, that's, it's not good either. Like, it's not good. I know this is about yelling, but like, if you never fight and you never disagree, wow. You got some major issues coming for you, if not already there.
Because someone is lying, someone is suppressing, and someone is really not actually engaged in the relationship.
Yep. Someone is the one. If you never fight, someone is always suppressing, and someone is always suppressing themselves. And guess what? Then I've seen it. I've literally seen it. I've seen couples message us on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, we're great now. We talked. Like you didn't really like we. I just need to pay more attention to her and prioritize dates. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like you didn't really fix anything. And like when it boils down to it, I've seen couples literally do this. They'll be like, "Oh, we never really fight." Okay. And then later on, guess what? That same individual, the one that thought everything was okay, comes back to us because their spouse is out the door, gone. Seems like out of nowhere, but realistically, it's not.
It's been building up. And honestly, here, I want to share a couple other lessons that I had about yelling particularly. And it's because yelling was much deeper than just like, oh, yelling, right? It was attached to my identity. Yelling was a part of who we were. Like, I was like, I just yell. Like, that's what I do. And so it was a part of who I was. It's how I communicated. It was just what I did, and it was always justified. So when something's attached to your identity, it's not going to be fixed by just don't do it or just implement this tactic, because it is deeply ingrained. And at this point, it was in my mind, in my identity, into my subconscious, and into my chemical makeup of my body. So having a tool and tactic, or even just someone saying, hey, don't yell, like that's damaging, wasn't going to undo what I was taught and trained to do.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, like, and for me, like growing up, obviously I saw a lot of passivity. And so like, and then obviously you add kind of the combination of like all the beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'll never be, and all these things, those are just still surface level beliefs. But realistically, like when you add all these things in, what happens is like I end up in a space to where I do withdraw, and withdrawal was my natural like kind of go-to. Now I would yell. It was kind of like maybe 70-30% of the time I would like withdraw, and then 30% I would just get really mad and yell. Maybe 60-40, I don't know, just depends. But either way, yeah, yelling was more her go-to, but withdrawal and passivity and not fixing things and going to that place was my go-to, because that was also a part of my identity, meaning like my words don't matter. My feelings and emotions don't matter. Like, never good enough anyways. Doesn't really matter. I have to be perfect, and I'll never be perfect. So what does it matter anyways if I say anything? Yeah. Right? So those are all like going on beneath the surface.
And it's oftentimes that you'll see a pair like this. Now, it's not every pair, it's not every couple, but it is often very frequent that, you know, there will be one who yells, who screams, who makes big statements, who quote unquote wins a lot of arguments, and the other one is like, shut down, whatever, like, I'm just gonna give in. And it's because like there is so much to this on the science side that is playing a role in this.
Yeah. Please don't be that person. Like, I hate the secular world when it comes to like the type of information they put out. I don't hate them. I just like, there's like these different books. People are from different planets, whatever. Like, the thing is like they'll say stuff like, oh, well, women have different energy. They have feminine energy, and men are more logical. Women are more feeling based. Like, we have worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and talked to thousands, tens of thousands of people. And I can tell you, not only based on us, but also based on other people, that is not true. Like, there are a lot of men that are very feelings based, and they definitely want their feelings to matter. And there are a lot of women that want their feelings to matter. Everyone wants their feelings to matter. Everyone wants to be heard and understood. Realistically, men and women are mostly the same. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, they're really not that complicated.
No, and it's really not. It's getting down to the science. See, you really have to understand how it all works, and science backs the Bible. So anytime we're talking about like the neuroscience, it does back biblical in that perspective, right? And so unconscious thought, like I was like, I don't want to yell. Consciously, that's where I was. I was like, I'm tired of yelling. I don't want to yell. But subconsciously, and how my wiring was, how my nervous system was, it was like the only way to be seen and heard, and the only way to be safe is to yell. The only way to have anything of release or to get things done is to yell. Like, that is what was going on within my nervous system, within my mind, within all of my neuro wiring. Like, that is what was going on. So when I had this thought of, well, I'm tired of yelling, it wasn't going to override all of the rest. And here's the thing. Science has shown us that when people feel threatened, the brain is going to shift into survival mode. Now, there's 4 different primary states of survival. There is a blend. There is, but there's 4 primary. And honestly, when someone's yelling, it's going to kick in to someone else in this pattern. Like, so in the marriage, like where this was normalized, even for kids, it kicks into survival. So when someone yells, the other's brain will kick into survival. And so it's going to be like, hey, I'm just going to fight back. So those that yell back, that's that fight. Or some people shut down, which is that freeze. Some people just walk away, which is the flight. They're going to remove themselves, like, just like, how do I escape this? And then you have the fawn, which is to, yes, you're right. Okay. And they'll just start to agree, or they'll do whatever it is that you said, not because they actually agree and not because they're on the same page, but they just want to stop the conflict.
Yeah, which is really annoying as well. And so, like, the thing is like these states I don't want to like present this as like, oh, well, I'm that type of person. That's what I'll always be. Nope. I am in this. I resort to this, and that's what my baseline like genetics. Well, that's not what we're saying. These are based the way that some people will tell you that. I don't agree with that. What the way you get into these states as your natural is based on what your deeper rooted beliefs are and your natural programming is. But to reprogram that, you have to reprogram those states.
Yep.
So also I want to say one more thing, like with the actual, like some people will say like you got all these men's coaching and consulting programs out there that will tell you that, and there's a lot of really bad advice, but one of the things that they will tell you that sounds good on the surface is you got to provide emotional safety for your spouse. And so what do? They try to, which is not a bad thing, but they try to get you to like actually like just basically manage their emotions and like be a nice person and like try to like hear them and understand them, which is all great things. But the thing is, manage their emotions not. But regardless, what this does is it actually ends up not really doing much of anything. And if you do get them back, guess what you're stuck in is that for all of time, managing someone else's emotions. And if you're not perfect one day, then everything goes to hell and goes off course. That's not how a relationship is supposed to work. Mm-hmm. That's conditional love, not unconditional love. And that's not effective.
And a lot of times that's actually flipping the script, because probably at one point it was you were the one who was more aggressive, and then the spouse appeased you. And then they got to a point where they were tired of appeasing and fixing, and now they've lost it. And so now it's switched where you're trying to appease them to get them back. And it's both is toxic, right? You don't want to be in that. And in these survival states, so the survival states that I was just talking about, the fight, the flight, the freeze, the fawn, to fix it, just hey, smooth it over, just like, let's just end this conflict. Let's give you what you want so that this tension and awkward goes away. All of that is just a survival. Like, that's survival. And that's not how we're designed to live. And that's not how we're supposed to be in relationship. And this is how that yelling becomes a cycle instead of solution. Like, yelling is not a solution whatsoever. It doesn't bring any kind of intimacy. It just brings that division. And if someone's hitting survival in the marriage and in relationships, even between like you and your kids, it takes home as now home is not safe. Home is not a place of rest. Their nervous system is constantly on. They're now going to stay in a state of survival. And this is why so many people have literally been living in survival since young ages of like 4, 6, even 12. Honestly, we've had a lot younger where they've just always been in survival.
Which can play a role in like epigenetics, which is what's passed through your bloodline, and then curses and stuff like that too. So all that plays a role.
And so science just goes ahead and proves and that none of this is actually going to create that intimacy. And yelling actually does not get you what you want. And even if it's a temporary in that moment, you may have, your kid might have picked up whatever it was that you wanted them to do, or your spouse, quote unquote, heard you in that moment. Your voice doesn't carry weight with them. Your words don't mean anything because you've broken trust. And so you have to start really addressing the real issues going on. And fighting against yelling yelling isn't the issue really at all. Yelling just highlights that there's deeper things going on and a lack of foundation. And trying to grit through something along these lines, like, this is just a coping mechanism. So yelling is a way that someone utilizes, like, hey, I'm going to yell to get something here. It wasn't a true resolution. And so the real issue is that there wasn't healthy foundations. There wasn't a true, hey, how, like, what is a relationship look like, and how do you have a disagreement? We didn't know there was another way. And so for me, my turning point was when I personally was so tired of feeling like I was going to explode. I was tired of feeling like my insides were boiling. Like, I was over yelling in general. Like, I didn't like it. I hated and despised someone yelling at me. And I was tired of having to be a raging maniac in order for anyone to pay attention to me. I was over it, and I knew there had to be change within myself. And so I started doing the real work that breaks this cycle, and I changed who I was. I had to train my mind. I had to train my body. I had to train my brain, my words, my actions. And honestly, like, I became more. It wasn't a grit thing. It wasn't, oh, just stop yelling. It was, I became more. And as I became more and I was more stable, more regulated, more present, I became a woman of boundaries, a woman of my word. And I just completely brought a different culture and like energy around from like myself. Like, so the yelling in the relationship, I didn't address yelling in our marriage first. It was, I had to work on myself first and become more. And this was the turning point for me.
Yeah. And so one thing you don't want to do, listen to our podcast ever, is pick up on this one thing. The one thing. Oh, she said boundaries. It's going to be boundaries. That's what I need to fix this. A lot of women will put boundaries in place. And yes, I'm targeting women with this. They'll put boundaries in place, and realistically what it is, it's not really boundaries. It's just rules to get your way. And that may trigger you. That's okay. Men do it too. But the thing is like real boundaries are not about another person. They're about who you are at the core. And so most likely, realistically, you don't even know how to put boundaries in the first place, nor are they even rooted to the right things. So we can do a whole episode on boundaries, but the thing is like, I don't want you to attach to just one thing you heard her say. It's the complete thing about her becoming a complete and whole and healthy individual, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it collectively. It's not one thing. Boundaries are not going to do that. I promise you, you can read the book Boundaries. We did. It did nothing for us in our relationship, like nothing. And so like when it comes down to it, like the things in there are good, they're okay. But like the thing is like one, it's missing a lot of things in there. The boundaries to really be effective, they need to be rooted in the right things and placed the right way in the right focus. But the thing is like you need to have all the foundations in place, not just one specific tool. You can't think like that.
Right. And so this was where like I became more, right? And maybe you're sitting here thinking at this point, well, you know, my spouse just won't listen unless I raise my voice. So that, you know, I'm glad that worked for you, but that's what I'm going to have to keep doing because that's the only way they listen to me. And I understand how you feel that way. I was there. I felt that at one point too. And we've been there. And I was guilty of yelling for someone's attention and even out of fear response to get your way. Now, what I'm going to say is the cost is great because when you yell, you may think that you're getting heard. You may think that you're getting understood or seen or your way, but really you are destroying intimacy. You're like, I want intimacy. I want my spouse to feel connected and loved, and I want them to be open, and I want them to be emotional and emotionally available. Well, you just damage that by yelling.
Yeah. And she used to say things like, well, if he would just do what I tell him to do and listen, which I tried to do that and it didn't work. And so like, it's not like, again, neither those things aren't going to work to give you intimacy.
No.
Like, the way you're going about this is focused on the completely wrong problem altogether.
And so that cost, let's continue to expand on that. When you yell that cost, you also destroy respect. So it's like on both sides. Like women, you're not being respected when you yell at your man. It's incredibly degrading on both sides. For men to yell at women and women to yell at men, it's incredibly degrading. It looks like it's really just bad on both sides. But when a man yells at a woman, it just showing like, hey, actually they're really insecure. They don't think much of themselves at all. And it really highlights that how insecure they are within themselves. Women, same thing. It does not look great at all. There's no attraction when you have to yell at someone. And it really changes the atmosphere and it makes it awkward for everyone around you. And it makes people want to escape and run away. And when you yell at someone, it erodes trust.
Yeah. We've literally had clients where like their teenage kid broke down, like because they heard them like disagree and fix it, like, you know, and the legit actually fix it, get to the root of things. He's like, I didn't know it could be done any other way than yelling.
Yeah, because they fixed it without yelling. I want to highlight that, Tommy.
Like fixed it without yelling. And no, you can't fix it without yelling and then like be just calm, cool, and collective. That doesn't work either. There's a right and a lot of wrong ways to do it.
And so it just goes to show it's possible. And so that cost, it's going to have a massive effect, right? So this teenage boy, because people are like, boys don't have emotions and boys don't cry and all of these things. And they're just, you know, supposed to be tough and don't have emotions. It just goes to show.
Rub some dirt in it.
Like, that's all a lie. And this teenage boy was used to his parents yelling, screaming, hostile environment. And when he witnessed how they handled a disagreement after they worked with us, like we mentored them privately. And after we worked with them, they were able to have a disagreement and he witnessed them working through a problem the way we taught them. And he just broke down because he's like, I didn't know that was possible. Like that should tell you something because yelling just degrades and it puts people less than humans, in my opinion. It's like it's a destruction of humanity.
What do you like when people are yelling and they're fighting? What do they want? They want two things. They want peace and intimacy. Or you say peace and love, peace and intimacy. Those two things they want. Neither one of these are going to, none of these tactics are going to get you those things. It's about becoming more.
And you might be thinking, well, this is just how I was raised. It's just normal. Okay, great. That might explain where it might have started or it might have originated from. That's what it originated from for me. But it's not an excuse, and it doesn't define the rest of your life. And it doesn't define my life. And honestly, like at this point, like you have now been made aware that there is a way that you can have life. It is 100% on you and your responsibility as an adult to learn, to build the foundations, and to grow, to eliminate yelling from your life and eliminate yelling from your culture. And if you're like, well, I'm not the one who yells, you shouldn't be tolerating it, and you don't have to have yelling in your life anyways. So even if you're not the one who yells, there are 100% things that you can do to eliminate yelling from your life without changing someone else's. We're not talking about like, well, my spouse, I have to change my spouse. No, we're talking about from within. And so 100% as an adult, it is your responsibility. You may not have been taught the right things to do, but it is your responsibility to learn and to change moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, like there's like even things like people putting like maybe your whole family has been putting noodles in chili for like the past like demonic era. I don't know. I feel like that's demonic. I don't feel like I'm from the South, the real South. I don't feel like you should put that in like stuff. So like, just because they did it wrong throughout all these years doesn't mean you have to continue to do it wrong throughout the whole generations. Sorry,
weirdo.
That's just me ranting.
We had this conversation about chili yesterday in my household.
Noodles do not belong in it.
Family up north puts noodles in their chili, and we do sometimes and don't. Sometimes it just depends. But Tommy grew up on nasty dog food chili, and whatever.
Comment down below if you don't like noodles in your chili.
Okay. Anyways, we're gonna move on, and you may also be thinking, well, we've done this for years. We've yelled for years. This is just the way it is. Like, there's really just no hope for us. This has been ongoing for, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. I don't think there's another way. Maybe it's too late.
There's too much damage. It's too late. Right. I get it. We've been there. Mm-hmm. It seems very dark, very hopeless. And it may feel like you're down at like a pit that you can't see a light out of. But I promise you, we are on the other side of that, and we're not a rarity. We're not a rarity. Now, we're a rarity in whatever we went through collectively for sure. But, and I pray you never have to go through everything we went through. And really, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But the thing is like that, even though that was the case, that should give you hope, because like even everything we went through, we were still able to come out on the other side, and God has used that for our story to be able to tell others like we're telling here. And so if we can do it, you can definitely do it.
Yes. And so I just want to bring up, like, don't use any of those things as excuses. And it's not hopeless. There is a way for you. And yes, I am on this level of, so my old beliefs was I had to yell to be heard, to be seen, to, have my way, to all of those sorts of things, to have people take action, for my kids to obey me. And let me just tell you now, I am more heard and understood now than I ever was. My kids listen to me and respect me. Are they perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. But our life is drastically different, and I don't yell. So I just want to give you that hope, because today, like where we are now, like our home is peaceful. Our home is safe. It's a place of rest. And we're not perfect. Tommy's not perfect. I'm not perfect. The kids aren't perfect. And we still disagree. Tommy and I still have different opinions. We're very, very different people. And we have a lot of opposite things. Hence, like, I do like some noodles and Tommy does not. Cool.
There's a right and a wrong way to do things, just like oven baked turkey versus deep fried turkey. I mean,
okay,
one's demonic and one's not.
Like that. And so we're just kidding on the whole demonic thing, but
yeah, we're kidding.
Disagreement doesn't feel like a threat in our house. Like we can have, like we have playful like banter, like we can play, we can have good time. And I just want to give you some hope on that too, because there was a season for sure that if we would have played, that would have been a massive argument. Like we would have turned pretty much anything into a fight at that time. So now we can disagree, and now we can also have fun and play and enjoy life together too.
Yeah, I mean, now is just so drastically different, like from where we were, what we term is like our hell on earth. Mm-hmm. Like it was absolutely horrible. Like when we went through all of that, like it was one thing, but now, like we're in a space where there is a lot of peace in our home. There is a culture, a healthy culture in our home. And we're always continuing to grow that and evolve in a good way. And then and then another thing, we can disagree on things and have calm, cool, collective communication. That's not only calm, cool, and collective, but we also feel truly heard and understood. Our kids know how to communicate. They know how to identify also other things like, reactions and different things like that. And so we're able to help each other, call each other out, hold each other accountable. Like, it's way different. And are we where we like really like will reach perfection? Have we reached perfection? No. We always want to improve and grow, but the thing is like that it is drastically different. There is our theme of our home is now peace, unity, teamwork. We are in a space to where like we can disagree, but still love each other and get along. Like, we work together. Like, it's not, and there's not this like underlying like boiling beneath the surface type stuff. Like, do we disagree sometimes and not like each other? Do we like each other all the time? No, that'd be unrealistic, but like we do love each other all the times, which is very, very different.
Yes. And there is respect. So our words carry weight. We are heard. We're understood. We are a team. There is respect. All of those things are within our home. And honestly, like, one of the biggest things that I've seen a shift in and just makes me realize how far we've come and that us doing the work has broken the chains, has broken the bondage, is when, like, I'll look at our kids, and our kids do not spend their lives wondering when is the next argument going to happen. In fact, our kids have seen a couples yell in public, and they did scare you away, actually. Like, they didn't want to be anywhere near it, and they were like, "What's
scary?"
It was well, they're kids, like, I'm just kind of like creeped away. Anyways, it's like, why are they yelling? When the kids are asking, why is that couple yelling in public? What's wrong with them? That right there just highlights and reminded me how much God has changed our home and like giving us the realizations and building the foundations that our kids aren't laying in bed with pillows over their heads wondering when will it stop. They're not crying themselves to sleep, just wondering, what's happening. They're not laying there fearful of what's going to escalate, who's going to get hurt, what's going to be damaged, what's going to be broken. Like, they're not having to lay there and be in their home in this place of fear. They're not having to wonder if it's going to escalate and just live in that state of edge and, what's going to be damaged? What am I going to be hurt next? Is like mommy or daddy going to be hurt? Like, they don't have to question those things. And that is a drastically different culture than what it ever was.
Yeah. And also, not only them, they're not waiting for the other shoe to drop, but we're not waiting for the other shoe to drop. Mm-hmm. We're not. Like, we don't, do we have areas we can improve on? Yeah, always. Like, we're always growing, and we're not even near perfect. Like, we have things that we're still growing in, but it's okay. Like, it's peaceful and it's amazing.
It is. And we're not perfect, but we are drastically different than what we were 10 years ago. And the culture in our home is drastically different. And I just have to say, because, this is honestly, when you're so wrapped up into like the yelling, and I talked earlier about like how your body gets addicted to those sorts of things, that peace can honestly feel boring at first, but peace isn't boring. It's really freeing. When you're not walking on eggshells or worrying about managing your spouse's emotions or the environment, and you aren't living off an adrenaline rush of the next argument, you're actually able to live. You're able to create things. You're able to thrive. You're able to be present. You're able to show up and have connection and safety. There's so much more that comes out of this and that freedom. And so peace isn't boring. And that's a whole thing that people have to walk through. And a lot of times people will have a peaceful moment and they'll freak out because their nervous system isn't used to it and it feels uncomfortable. And this is that pattern of self-destruction of then they'll go create a chaos just to get like the normal feelings back again.
Yeah. People though think that like peace is like an external thing. It's not. It's what is dwelling within you. Once you fix things the right way, deeper inside you. And then also that like kind of overflows and ripple effects into the relationship and then into the culture of your home. So peace is internally cultivated. It's not something that you're going to like, for example, go to a different marriage and then you'll have peace at the beginning. This is, I hear all the time, this is how I've always deserved to be treated. This is blah, 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 right? Like the thing is like your last marriage could have been great too. and all those things if the people and like both people would have chosen to do things the right way. Yes, eventually it takes two healthy individuals to have a healthy marriage. It takes one to save it. But the thing is like you have to be in a space to where, you realize that peace isn't something you're going to find one day. It's already here. You just have to cultivate it.
Yep.
Internally, despite all of the waves.
And we want every marriage to know that the home that you've longed for, the peace, the one where you're heard, the understood, that there is safety, that you're a team, that you're united, that there is intimacy and connection, and you can actually rest. It's not just something that's online or you see for others. It can be really easy to sit here and listen and be like, well, that's great for you guys, or for even those that you mentor, but that's just not for me. Well, it is actually possible for you. It is going to take you doing something different. You're going to have to take different actions. It's going to be different than just grit or just implementing tools and tactics. You do have to become more. You do have to lay the foundations and be a true, healthy individual. And when you're walked through it and guided through it, it makes it so much easier. So much easier. And I'm going to be real. Like, we have fun in healing of what we do. Like, we are not like everything is so doomsday and super serious. If that's how you're walking through healing, you're doing it wrong. Okay. Because life is fun. There is joy and freedom that comes on the other side. And so as I walk clients through and they're being mentored and we're diving into these things and release these things, there's fun. There's joy. We're laughing through this. And it just shows that we can have such healing in a different culture. So you can bring that different culture. You can bring it to where, you actually have a voice, where you carry weight, where people take you serious, even your spouse, even your kids. You can create a culture where your kids have a voice, where they're not ruling you because they are kids and they need to be taught and be in like their right position, not dominated. But you want them to be raised up where they have a voice and they're heard and seen too. And so you get to choose. See, yelling might be normal for culture and for the hurting and the lost and the broken in the world, but that's not how God designed it. And you can choose to step in to have freedom. You can choose to step in to have healing. You can choose to bring safety to your home and change the culture. And don't give me my spouse excuse. When we shifted this culture, it wasn't a shift from Tommy. This was a shift that I had to take, and I took and stood, and then we worked on it together after.
Yeah, what she means is it wasn't just a shift from me. Is what she's like. It was a shift from both of us. And then at first it was just a shift from her though, because I was out of the marriage and I was done and she was standing for it. But the thing is that when it comes down to all of these things. She was saying how ago, while a minute ago, where how you were well, my house isn't like that. That'll never change. It's whose choice is that? It's your choice. You deciding to hold on to your things, your issues, you deciding to hold on to your situation and play victim is the reason why you'll never fix your situation. And so the people that choose to take responsibility and get out of their situation and change things in the right way, just because what you have been doing has been working doesn't mean that something different won't work. And so I get the place of living in despair. And you are very significant, 100%,
yes.
Super significant, but you're not that special. It's not oh, your situation is just so different than everyone else's that a system won't work for you. Right? No, it's the reason why we have a 98%, if not a little bit higher success rate, especially with couples. And so if you want to actually and that's with the people going to everything else and then coming to us. And so you can actually fix this, but you have to have the right things in place. We want to give you hope that it can change.
Yes.
If we can change, anyone can change.
There is hope for you, and we want to leave you with that. There is hope for you. Doesn't matter how it has been in the past. It's a choice to stay doing the same things you've been doing or get help and actually get real foundations. And just there's some questions we want to leave you with and to think about. And one of the things just straight is when there is conflict in your home and when you disagree or when someone isn't quote unquote listening to you, do people feel safe? Or do they feel like they have to protect themselves? Do the kids, let me ask you this way. If your kids handle conflict and talked to a future spouse the way you talk to them, are you going to be proud? Is that something that you would be proud of? And because whether you realize it or not, like you are setting the culture and you're teaching them how they're going to show up in their future relationships.
Yep, they can be the ones to break the generational traumas and things and curses and all that fun jazz in your family, or you can be. Like, and realistically, making them be the ones to break this is kind of lazy and irresponsible. So, like, we are the first ones in our family, if not ever, to break all of the patterns, curses, and traumas. Our kids have a complete fresh start and all the generations moving forward from them. But that can be you too. Mm-hmm. That can be your kids too.
And this is going to be something where, like, you can decide, do you have a culture that's division, that's fear, that's walking on eggshells and managing emotions, that has a lack of self-worth and thinking that they're nothing? Or are you going to bring in a culture of, confidence, of self-worth, of, hey, I don't have to avoid conflict. Conflict isn't scary. We can have a healthy disagreement and we can have respect. This is, if we had more of this, like, our world would look very different, right? Like, so just looking at how people handle conflict, you can see, like, there is mass confusion. Tommy and I can have a disagreement. Like, obviously, like, our kids, they don't always agree with what we're discussing, and that's okay. So we can disagree and still walk through it and be a team and be united and have respect. And that's how God's designed it for us and for you as well. But it's your choice to step into it or not. But I just wanted to give you that, like, that perspective. And I know that for me, like, having that release and being able to let go of yelling and that anger has been one of the most freeing things. One of the most freeing things, because it is so much more peaceful. And I would never want that feeling like my insides are about to explode back. I like that I get to be in peace and have the calm within. It is amazing. And so I'm curious, like, are you ready for change?
Yep. Are you ready for change? The thing is like, my question for you would be, like, not only are you ready for change, but are you ready to actually take action and get a new life? Like, a new life with your spouse, and marriage 2.0. Like, you can bury the old marriage once you deal with it that you guys have had and build a completely, absolutely new one. Even if your spouse isn't willing to work on it yet, you can be the one to save it initially. Yes. So I just want to give you hope for that. But again, comment down below if anything resonated with you here, and, like, or if you have any questions, of course, like, wow, this is us, right? I've seen comments like that. Go ahead and do it, right? Like, we're here for you, here to support you and encourage you. But go ahead and do that. And we love you. God loves you. And he absolutely always wants to see your marriage restored. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.